Dubbed the most expensive divorce case in Asia, the 1.38 trillion won property division lawsuit between SK Group chairman Chey Tae-won and Roh Soh-yeong, daughter of former South Korean President Roh Tae-woo, has recently taken a dramatic turn. Previously, the court ruled that Roh was entitled to 35% of SK Group's assets. However, during the court hearing on the 16th, the husband presented evidence showing that a significant portion of their marital assets, about 30 billion won, actually came from bribes and state-owned funds received by his former father-in-law. As a result, Chey refused to include this money in the division of marital property. The court also acknowledged that the funds were obtained through illegal means and, therefore, not protected under the law, agreeing to send the case back for retrial. Well, this just got interesting. Could it be that the husband would rather have their shared assets labeled as illicit funds than give any to his ex-wife? Even worse, his shocking revelation could cause SK Group's stock price to plummet, damaging the net worth of both ex-spouses, who are shareholders. Judging from his desperate, mutually destructive move, this divorce case, already filled with drama, revenge, and unexpected twists, will likely unleash even more explosive revelations in the days to come. Let's take a look back at the love and hate story between these two. In 1988, Roh Tae-woo was elected president of South Korea. His daughter, Roh Soh-yeong, a Stanford graduate, married Chey Tae-won, heir to the SK Group, in a wedding held at the Blue House. SK Group has long maintained that the couple's relationship was one of true love introduced by their parents, not a political alliance. However, many in South Korea have always believed that their union between politics and business surely carried ulterior motives that couldn't be spoken aloud. After the marriage, Roh Soh-yeong and Chey Tae-won had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, and appeared to maintain a respectful relationship on the surface. Under the halo and influence of her father, Roh Tae-woo, SK Group's business grew rapidly, and within just a few years, it rose to become one of South Korea's top 3 conglomerates. However, former President Roh Tae-woo was accused of collusion with business interests and accepting bribes in 1995, and was sentenced to prison. With the aura and protection of her father-in-law gone, the marriage between Roh Soh-yeong and Chey Tae-won also began to show subtle changes. In 2013, Chey Tae-won was sentenced to 4 years in prison for an economic crime and was released 2 years later through a special pardon. Unexpectedly, in 2015, as South Korea abolished its adultery law, Chey Tae-won, fresh out of prison, published an open letter stating that he had been in a 10-year relationship with Hee-young, a former beauty pageant contestant and divorced psychologist, and that they had a 9-year-old illegitimate daughter. To give the mother and daughter a formal status, he officially requested a divorce from Roh Soh-yeong. However, Roh Soh-yeong refused to divorce and even offered to take the illegitimate daughter into her home to raise her. Thus, the long-drawn divorce battle between the two officially began. In the following years, Chey Tae-won and Hee-young jointly established a foundation to support her career development. He also purchased a luxury residence for the mother and daughter in Hannam-dong, one of Seoul's wealthiest neighborhoods, which led the public to refer to Hee-young as the Mrs. Hannam-dong jokingly. On her side, Roh Soh-yeong arranged for her 3 children to work at SK Group, securing their foothold within the conglomerate. By 2019, seeing that her 3 children had established themselves in the company, Roh Soh-yeong took the initiative to request a divorce from Chey Tae-won and demanded 300 million won in alimony along with his 42.29% stake in SK Group. In 2023, Roh Soh-yeong filed a lawsuit against Hee-young for interfering in her marriage, presenting evidence that Kim had taken 100 billion won from the marital assets she shared with Chey Tae-won. In response to Roh Soh-yeong's aggressive stance, Chey Tae-won countered that his shares were gifts and inheritances from his father and thus counted as his personal premarital assets, which could not be divided in the divorce. Roh Soh-yeong, however, provided evidence that her father had given 30 billion won to her former father-in-law, Chey Tae-won's father, to acquire other companies. Thanks to this massive capital injection from her family, SK Group was able to develop rapidly, and its stock price soared. Chey Tae-won benefited from his former father-in-law's backing and investment, allowing his personal wealth to grow quickly, Therefore, he should rightfully share a substantial portion of it with her in the divorce. Both sides stuck to their own arguments, and the divorce proceedings dragged on until last year. In May 2024, the Seoul High Court ruled that Chey Tae-won must pay Roh Soh-yeong approximately 1.38 trillion won, along with compensation for emotional damages. Kim Hee-young was also ordered to pay Roh Soh-yeong 2 billion won for emotional distress. Just when everyone thought that this decade-long, high-profile divorce case had finally ended with a record-breaking settlement, the next round of even more scandalous public feuding between the two had only just begun. In October 2024, Chey Tae-won and Roh Soh-yeong's second daughter, Chey Min-jung, held her wedding at a hotel owned by SK Group. On the wedding day, Chey Tae-won and Roh Soh-yeong sat together at the parents' table to witness the ceremony, then returned separately to their own guest tables for the reception, without any interaction between them from start to finish. After the wedding, Chey Min-jung and her husband returned to the United States to continue their work. According to Korean media reports, Chey Min-jung studied at Gwanghwa School of Management at Peking University, graduated from Georgetown University, and served in the South Korean Navy. She previously held an executive position at an SK Group semiconductor company. In 2022, she resigned and moved to the US to start an internet company focused on health consulting. The company has since secured substantial overseas investment and is thriving. Chey Tae-won and Roh Soh-yeong's eldest daughter, Choi Yoon-jung, worked at a well-known management consulting firm for 2 years before joining SK Group. Thanks to her professional abilities, she rose steadily through the ranks and is now a senior executive in multiple core departments. Their only son, Chey In-kun, graduated from Brown University with a degree in physics and then joined SK Group's strategy department. He later held several important positions in SK Group's energy division, but resigned this year. After leaving SK, Chey In-kun joined the management consulting firm McKinsey. Foreign media widely believe that his career move follows the path of his older sister Choi Yoon-jung, advance in learning, then rise higher, preparing him for future senior management roles at SK. On Kim Hee-young's side, she has also been active, frequently posting recent photos with Chey Tae-won's illegitimate daughter and officially announcing that the son she had with her ex-husband has now taken the Chey surname. Chey Tae-won reportedly shows great concern for this stepson as well. With both sides' children now grown and no longer a concern, Chey Tae-won and Roh Soh-yeong have entered a new round of property disputes. On the 16th of this month, Chey Tae-won submitted evidence to the Supreme Court of Korea showing that his former father-in-law, Roh Tae-woo, had indeed provided SK Group with 30 billion won in the 1990s to acquire other companies, which helped the company's stock soar. Crucially, this money came from bribes. This action harmed the national interest by turning state assets into private wealth. From this perspective, the capital injection by his former father-in-law is not legally protected. Previously, the court had ruled that Chey Tae-won should divide SK Group shares worth trillions of won with Roh Soh-yeong. However, the Supreme Court, upon reviewing his evidence, found issues with the prior judgment. Since the money Roh Tae-woo injected into SK Group was obtained through bribery and therefore not legally protected, the court revoked the previous divorce property settlement and sent the case back for retrial. The date of the retrial will be announced separately. It is worth noting that before Chey Tae-won submitted his evidence, Kim Hee-young, the so-called Mrs. Hannam-dong, posted a series of beautiful photos on social media, showing herself enjoying a peaceful and carefree life, which many found intriguing. Korean media believe that by exposing the bribery-backed investment from his former father-in-law, Chey Tae-won, is likely to trigger a sharp drop in SK Group's stock. Yet he insists on a hurt the enemy, harm oneself approach, refusing to share the property with Roh Soh-yeong. Judging from the current state of affairs, it's hard to say whether the two sides, in their later battles to save face, will reveal even more shocking information. After all, as top figures in Korea's business and political worlds locked in a love and war saga, every revelation from them becomes headline-making news. As ordinary spectators, all we can do is wait together for the next chapter of this epic divorce drama.